Welcome to the Retail Reality Show.
It always puts a smile on my face, this dancing in the beginning. Welcome to another episode of the Retail Reality Show. My name is Nino, and I'm one of the co-hosts of the Retail Reality Show. And I have again the pleasure to have a show and a session with my great new co-host, Yael. Yael, how are you today, and where do I find you?
Oh, thanks, Nina. I'm good. I'm optimistic, as we previously said, and excited about today's session.
Yeah, very much. I think optimism in retail is the trait or the personality trait you have to have in these days.
You can't with it, and you can't without it. So
exactly. But we are not on our own again. So we have another great guest, like last time. Today we have Andrew McLean from Land's End. Hey, Andrew, how are you today?
I'm good. It's great to be here. I'm excited to be on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew, for joining us. And we go a few years back, but I think this is the first time that I actually have the opportunity to really hear your story, right? Because when we first met, we dove straight into business. So I think if you can introduce a little bit, you've had obviously a very impressive career in retail. Previously at American Eagle, and now as the CEO of Land's End. You want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I mean, I'm in America. I run Land's End. I was actually born in Scotland. So first generation. And I've worked my way through a number of retailers, sort of steadily building a career over the years. I was at Gap. For a number of years, and then really parlayed that into time in different categories and different channels with wholesale. When I went to Liz Claiborne, where I worked with brands like Juicy Couture. From there, I went to Urban Outfitters and I ran their business internationally for a great number of years and had an amazing experience, actually based in London before joining American Eagle, where I was the chief commercial officer, ran their business in the channels around the world before taking the Land's End CEO role. So I've had a good tour of duty. I always make sure I'm enjoying myself. I look to be curious, and these are all companies where you can ask a lot of questions and try out a lot of great ideas and grow.
Amazing. And before we start with like the official questions, who was it like your biggest mentor throughout your career?
I've always made sure I have a number of mentors to talk to, and I look for, as I've got older, I look sometimes for mentors who are younger than me to give me perspective. So, there are people I've looked up to, like Dick Hayne, who's the CEO and founder actually of Urban Outfitters. But on the flip side of that, I'm just as liable to talk to my kids and hear their point of view about what's going on in the industry. And I'm always looking to renew and rejuvenate. I guess that's part of my DNA.
That's very important to keep up with the market and consumers.
Yeah, in a funny way, I've kind of learned from you over the years. I mean, I've sort of watched you, and I admire a lot that you've done. I mean, some of the shows, some of the tech agendas and tech shows that you've put together have been really impressive. And I think there could be a whole podcast with you telling us about your experiences. So, you're another person who is very influential to me. Probably from afar, it probably doesn't feel that way, but it's how I view it.
Well, thank you, Andrew. That was not expected. And we actually did a podcast about me and Israeli tech, but we haven't released it yet. I'm sure that by the time we will have this one out, people will be able to go back and listen to that one as well.
I look forward to it, as you know.
Cool. Andrew, like every time we start the podcast with a little bit of an icebreaker exercise to not just jumpstart into business topics. And we prepared a few icebreaker questions just for you. So here we go. Be be prepared and fasten your seatbelt. So number one, Perplexity or ChatGPT?
ChatGPT.
Okay. What do you do with ChatGPT? 3 main use cases?
3 main use cases. So I like to go in and use ChatGPT. Needs a better name. I like to go in and use it to synthesize up concepts from my website and competitor websites to see customer reviews. I like to use it to make sure that I am business appropriate. And I like to use it to give me concepts about search and about new ideas of reaching and talking to the customer. I'm a power user. And
Cool.
my team has got to know that well, because probably every Sunday afternoon, I'm sending them many ideas on how we can use it and deploy it.
Okay, so they're hopefully pro users as well then.
They're getting that way.
Cool. Second one, grocery delivery or buy in store?
Grocery delivery.
Okay, so you're an
I split
efficient
my
man.
I split my time between Madison in Wisconsin and New York City, and it's great to be able to arrive to your groceries already there. It's something we picked up living in London, where we used Ocado, and we've never really looked back. The quality is great, the service is amazing, and the 2 cities I live in are really cold, and I don't want to go out to the store.
Good answer. And the last one, and then we jumpstart into our questions we prepared today. Last one, formal suit or cozy flannel?
Cozy flannel, Land's End,
For
cozy
sure, Lanza.
flannels. Yeah, come on, flannels for men and women. It's like all sizes considered, 0 to 20. We'll make you feel cozy and ready for life's every journey.
That was the elevator pitch, and I think that was the tricky question.
Yeah, I used to steal my dad's flannels when I was a teenager. But I wasn't the only one. It was like a trend. I don't want to say, what year it was, because it will give away my age, but it was a long time ago. And let's say I wasn't the only one, and everyone was stealing their dads, their boyfriends, their, older brothers' flannel shirts. And yeah, I think I kept it for years. I kept one in my closet until, I moved to a different apartment and had to throw old things away.
People will send me their flannels that they've had for 50 years. They've laundered them, but people will send me their flannels, and they're very proud of having had a Land's End flannel
Yeah,
that's lasted a lifetime. And I feel the same way, and I find it very, very hard to let go of my old clothes, because once they fit you and they're comfortable, you're going to stick with them forever. But I'm in fashion, and I have to move forward.
exactly. You have to. There's a small anecdote to Land's End and flannel, because I can't remember the year when it was, but it's a long time ago, maybe 20 years. I was quite young, and my dad showed me a Land's End catalog and said, "Hey, have you seen this brand, Land's End?" And it's crazy. You can buy something and then you can wear it for years, and you can return it, and they would take it back. I think that was not sure if that was true or a unique selling point at that time, but I still remember that he found it very crazy that you can wear a shirt for several months or years, and then you just return it and you would get your money back.
Well, we'll get into it, but that's a big part of our DNA, which is we want to build product that's sustainable for your life, and that's part of our customer promise, is to be ready for life's every journey. We're right there with you.
If you look back on your exhaustive retail experience, what do you think are the biggest shifts that you're observing?
The biggest shift that I have seen, and it's personalization. I think for me, what I've seen over the years is, there's been huge deflation in the retail segment or the apparel segment globally over the years. But what in effect has happened, people have spent more, so they're outfitting themselves. And it's like that was an early personalization move. But the double-headed monster these days is really the speed that sits underneath it, and the personalization through AI tools are both going to continue to fuel this sort of like mission creep of personalization in our industry. And, the years of just setting 1,200 stores and having them look identical, it's just gone. It's current up now is about being market ready. It's about being customer ready. It's about knowing something about someone who walks in the door. And that's only set to grow. And I actually think it's quite exciting because I think it should be the retail story of me. It's the apparel story of me. It's the internet of me. And I think in this world, people are looking for comfort and they're looking for personalization. And it's been such a trend for all of us to follow. And I think the survivors and the winners are the ones who can adapt to it best.
Mm-hmm. And would you
It's
say
also
it has gone easier to personalize? Because in Germany we have a huge landscape of mail order companies, yeah? And I know and I have seen them also personalized, maybe not in a digital way, but maybe in a print way. Yeah? So one print mailing was dedicated to a certain segment, and they felt known. Yeah? It was not one-to-one personalization, but maybe one to a few. But would you say it has gone much easier to personalize?
I'd say the tools are there to make it easier. I don't know if everyone has adopted them. The hardest part of it is sticking to the principles of what makes your brand its brand, but being able to do that in a way that's fast and personal is become much more complicated. But in that complexity is where you get the win. So, some companies have gone to a fast fashion model, and fast fashion is worn on average 2.2 times and is thrown in the trash. Land's End, we like to focus on being able to have the product last you a lifetime and put a minimum of 50 washes on something. So it's being able to sell you a piece into your wardrobe that is still matters and is relevant in 10 years' time. And as much as we can use the technology to get the initial sale, it's really about being able to convey that notion of what else we bring to the table and how we support a very sustainable mission.
So when because I just want to focus again on that what you just said, because I think it's very striking in the fashion industry. If you look what's happening, like we talked about in the preparation part, de minimis. So we have players like like Shein or
You merged
Temu.
them. That's great.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Why
Shemu
not?
actually. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
even bigger monster. But I mean, they're kind of targeting a very specific target group, and who is very receptive to their price value ratio. In these days, energy price is high, not a good sentiment. People are scared, so they save money. With Shein and Temu, they can still spend a little bit of money, and they get a lot of products, cheap products, like you said. Yeah, they wear them one or two times and throw them away. And Land's End is the opposite, what you just said. Sustainability, wear them for a lifetime. What do you think? Is there a market at the moment for this kind of buyership, or where do you see your market?
I look at the psychographics of customers versus the demographics, and I find that there's a common thread in the psychographics of my customers in that they will always have part of their wardrobe or closet where they're going to be building long term, and they're going to want signature pieces that can last for a duration, like a winter coat. You don't want to wear a winter coat two times. You don't want to wear a swimsuit two times. And by taking these best stats for us and really leaning into them where we are market leaders, we're able to build and assort against that customer. And that means other parts of the closet have become harder for us to reach. So those businesses, the way to succeed at them is we're a smaller company, we can't double down into all these categories. So we double down in the categories that we're really good at, and then we use partners to provide for those other categories. So, for example, kids, which is probably one of the fastest fashion businesses out there, just because the kids grow so quickly. You know, it's like we've gone and used a partner to get there because we're able to concentrate on our best stats and they bring our best at experience in that space. And I think that's really important. I think there aren't customers psychographically or demographically really who are fast fashion all the way or long-term quality all the way. I think there's a constant tension in the customer's mind that we're leaning into, and it's about being able to address what we think we're best at to them and then get their approval. And then that builds for us because word of mouth matters.
I think there's, in fashion, and I wanted to be a fashion designer when I was a kid. And I remember that I used to read some books about fashion, and they always talk about how you need to have those like anchor pieces in your wardrobe, right? Those pieces that that can kind of like go along with many other items and kind of change. You can wear this shirt with a different jacket and it will be a completely different outfit. Or, if it will be a different necklace if I'm a woman, or a different belt if I'm a guy. And you can take the same piece and kind of change the purpose of it by adding all kinds of other accessories, right? So I think, there are some brands who are at the core of fashion, really helping you curate those anchor items, right? And then there are those fast fashion brands that help you accessorize and create different outfits from those core assets.
Yes, you're absolutely right. We have a knit kit that we sell on our website, and it's effectively three tops, three bottoms, three layering pieces, and it's I think you can wear it in 27 different combinations if my math is right. But it's just like it allows you to constantly have the go-to staples in your wardrobe that you can then accessorize. And you're absolutely right. Things like, shoes, it's like jewelry. It's like it can be the scarf you wear around your neck. That becomes really important. But I think being able to speak to a core is really key. Now, I would be remiss. We do put fashion in there because, for us, we're very much a solutions business, and so we want to make sure that we're leaning into our solutions. The knit kit I just talked to is a solution. Things like our swimwear is a solution because we'll put some protection factor into it. We'll make mastectomy swimsuits. We'll do what it takes for the customer, but she still
Yeah.
wants to wear, some fashion along with that. So we're constantly treading a line between fashion and basics, in how we lean in there. But you're absolutely right. I think fast fashion is I've got an event, I've got a need, and I will fill that very quickly, and it's in, gone, and done. And then for
Exactly.
brands like mine, it's more about how are we building for a future relationship with you.
So, Andrew, we met when you were still with American Eagle, right? And obviously, American Eagle is very different than Lands' End, right? It's a multi-brand company with a strong focus on physical retail stores, while Lands' End is more in the catalog business and online and e-commerce. When we're starting 2025, what are the top channels that retailers should be looking at, in your opinion? Or
It's interesting because it's that my company did start as a cataloger 62 years ago now. So the thing that has happened to the catalog, and where I've been quite specific with our catalog, and it speaks to application of technology and understanding the customer journey, is really turning it into a marketing vehicle versus a discrete channel in its own right. So for Land's End, the catalog is a call to action. And there's a lot of science gets applied around what kind of catalog you get, whether it's a sort of very dense, more traditional catalog with a lot of pictures of product in it, or whether you see something that's more of a fashion piece, a magalog. And we're very thoughtful about how we craft that, but ultimately 96% of everything we do is done with a click. So the customer's finding their way ultimately to the website where they get a representation of the full assortment. And actually we use our channels to reinforce. We've subsequently, and they are the biggest growth companies out there. We sell in Costco, and we use that as a physical manifestation of our brand. We sell on Amazon, and we find there is a very specific psychographic that we wouldn't otherwise pick up in either the catalog or our website there. And we look at Walmart is going to be, and Target are both going to become increasingly important for us in the United States as we look to lean in and again reach a different psychographic that we know is out there, but isn't necessarily finding their way through the catalog or the website to see what Land's End's capable of.
Are you selling on Amazon as your own seller or using other sellers to add Lands End items into their own step?
We sell ourselves. I wanted to have at least that level of control. And one of the changes I had, when I arrived at the companies, we were selling everything to everyone, everywhere. And actually, if you think about just the algorithm at Amazon, it's really going to maximize around the highest velocity, or it's
Yeah.
going to maximize around the highest volume, and it's constantly trading those off. So instead of having thousands of items all selling a little and being very lowly ranked, I've really narrowed that assortment in based on the psychographic that we want to get to, and it really comes down to about 10 items, and I have two discrete shoppers there. I have a men's shopper. Men are very strong users of Amazon, and then actually through a license partner, we sell shoes, and that's been incredibly powerful. And actually, just coming through our fourth quarter, the number one snow boot on Amazon was from Land's End, and that was a very pointed effort to get it there. So what would worry me about selling through someone else is you just end up in a whole maelstrom of SKUs, and you're not really maximizing either your customer potential and you're certainly not maximizing the algorithm.
Yeah, that's what retail media is for.
100%.
I agree.
So Andrew, because I really like the discussion around psychographics versus demographics, but I would assume, please correct me if I'm wrong, your target group is maybe a little bit older than we talked about Shein or I don't know, H&M, all the fast fashion players. And I would say my question would be how do you balance acquisition, filling your funnel with new future Lands End loyalists and loyalty initiatives. I'm not sure if you have a loyalty program, but maybe can you talk a little bit about how to balance that in these days, finding new target groups and also in which channels, which are clearly not in a catalog, and loyalty.
So the landscape of retail is littered with the carcasses of companies that got the shift in consumer wrong. It's one of the hardest things to do, and that's where, and I'm an engineer, so I can't stop myself. That's where I just like immediately leant in and said, we're going to look at psychographics of the customers versus the demographics. And you're right, the customer does age a little older than a Shein and a Temu, but the the piece that we saw is there are two main groups. So my traditional Land's End customer is a resolver. She's resolved to the brand. She wears something until it wears out and then buys another one. And in many ways, she'll use the website almost as a Dutch auction in that she'll drop something in the basket at the beginning of the season, and she'll buy it when it hits a certain price point that works for her. And she's incredibly loyal to the brand, but she's incredibly loyal to a category within the brand and understands her fashion sensibility. And that's an age and an income and a whole lot of other factors go in there. There was a lot of evidence of another customer cohort, which is a very big addressable market called an evolver. And where we saw most of them, a little thing people don't know about Land's End is we have business to business outfitters. And actually, we are the largest provider of school uniforms in the United States. And we were seeing a customer who was primarily a mother buying for her kids to get them through school, but actually becoming interested in the brand. And she's 10 to 12 years younger than our existing Resolver customer. And she wants to be advised on fashion. And she wants to be on a journey where she gives you a little bit of her closet or her wardrobe space and is less price sensitive. And the trick in there is to manage them both consistently, which is why we spend a lot of time leaning in, looking at which channels these customers shop and how we should talk to them within those channels. So the highest representation of our brand that's aimed at the Evolver customer is on Instagram, where you're never going to really see anything on sale. You're always going to see a very emotional moment. I know it's an overused word, but you'll see a very emotional moment, and we'll use that to lead her back to the website to shop. Whereas our Resolver is probably a little, she just knows, she knows Land's End's there and she's automatically going to come back to it. We'll address her perhaps on Facebook or via email.
Okay. So, but TikTok, you didn't mention TikTok. TikTok is probably a little bit too young to acquire them, or is this also something you're considering?
So there's a evolutionary group that's emerging, which is very fashion forward. And we found that there's a particular signature item, and it's our tote bag. And we started the tote wars with one of our competitors in the space. And we felt that it would be good for everyone. And we really ran at it because ours has pockets. So our hashtag is Life is Better with Pockets. We ran that for a good portion of last year. We had a lot of fun. We had a photo op with Katie Holmes that created 4 billion impressions, which was just extraordinary. And we took that and we actually opened up a pop-up shop in Soho in New York over the Christmas period, the holiday period, and all it sold were totes, and we let customers come in and customize those totes, and it was amazing. We used alternative media, TikTok and TikTokers in order to like really drive it, and it was just amazing to see what I would call a 20 to 35-year-old customer come along and embrace that one item. And so as we enter 2025,
from one item, you get them connected to the brand, right? And
yes,
from there, the door is open.
yes, and it's such a cultural moment, right? This bag is, you can throw it in the washing machine. It'll run for, I mean, it'll last 50 years. You can roll it up, stuff it in your pocket if you need to. It has pockets. Life's better with pockets. Sorry, couldn't resist. But you know what we allowed the customer to do is come in and completely customize it. So you could put gibbets on it. You could put your initials on it. It could be hand stenciled. You could put a. We had basically people hanging necklaces on them, and it was mini totes on totes, and it's incredible in how we've been able to use that to engender a new customer to the brand. And I think you'll see more of that, and that's why I really opened up the conversation with personalization, because it's just another form of personalization that's coming through where you see this engagement. And if you can connect with those psychographics in a way that that works, the customer psychographics in a way that works for them, it's got so much power to it. And I would be I would be remiss if I didn't say we will be continuing to subdivide those psychographics. And three is not really going to cut it. It's going to become ever more personalized. And I think that's where we'll see an application of technology to get us to what's next.
Cool.
I
Just
love it.
look,
And I
love it.
saw a lot of the pictures on LinkedIn as well, and I really love it. Andrew, you just mentioned the magic word, technologies. That's the one word that gets me excited. What technologies in the last few years are you most excited about? And it's not just about the hype around the technology, but which technologies you feel can really add value to Lens and your consumers as well.
So you and I've been talking about this for a long time. So I was waiting for social commerce to take off like it did in China, and it's still really not reached its potential. And then I'm sort of intrigued right now by what's going to happen with voice technology and just ordering via Siri, ordering via Google, whether that's going to become something. But ultimately, where I'm at right now is building my customer journeys one customer at a time and using tools out there to be able to say, you know, this is how this customer shops, this is how that customer shops, and I can lean into them and I can market them appropriately and find the channel that fits them appropriately. Because right now, you could be a customer who receives 12 catalogs from me a year when you only need 4. Or you could be a customer who receives 3 catalogs from me when you need 18. And you might want to see us on Instagram, or you might want to see us on Facebook, or you might want to have an email that's completely customized to you, or you might want to have an app that's completely customized to you. And I think we're really, in as much as everyone's saying they're doing it, I still think we're at the beginning of that journey, and that's going to be really powerful over the next couple of years. And I think the pace of that is really going to move, and it's how I'm lining my business up for the future. I think we've talked. I'm doing an SAP implementation of an ERP. I think that will set the backbone from which I can build with a whole series of tools. And I also, and I would be remiss because my own team, if and when they listen to this, will be you missed it out. We do a lot of B2B to C. So we work with very big customers like American Airlines or Chase Manhattan Bank doing all of their uniforms. And really the tools in there have moved over the years where we might sell to a purchasing manager, but ultimately we're dressing 100,000 people in each of those companies. And that whole notion of B2B to C and how we fit to their world and how we make it specific to them and give them what they need is going to become really powerful as well.
That's an interesting strategy. Also, when you said in the beginning you're outfitting the schools with the school uniforms, I think that's a very smart strategy to enter the market and get people to use your products, and then they would automatically buy more if they are happy.
I think you're right. I think for anyone who's going to build a business in this industry, you need to find as many channels as are viable and make sure you're building them. And I think that just focusing on one channel because it's your best at is probably asking for trouble.
In Israel, we have just before the beginning of the school year, there is a competition between all the brands over like school T-shirts. We don't really do uniforms, but there is a T-shirt with a school symbol on it, and you can buy a regular T-shirt in whatever brand you want, and the brands will add the symbol for you, and they sell those T-shirts for 10 T-shirts for $20. Those are the prices. And the next brand will do 10 T-shirts for 19 or 5 T-shirts for 10. And, it goes on and on. And they know, it's a great way because whenever I go to buy those T-shirts for my kids, I start with that, $20, 10 T-shirts thing. But then I end up with a basket of like $200, $300, because I'm already on there and I just saw those other, cool suits for the kids, and then maybe a dress for myself. And before I know it, it becomes a huge basket. So I think it's very strong. It's very smart. Like if you become in the mindset of your customers, you become equivalent for something that they need, right? They will start with what they need right now, but then they will add things that they also want.
Absolutely. And we're trying to build a long-term relationship with families, and we're actually in the process of now building intergenerational relationships with families. And I think there's real staying power in that, because ultimately it's about trust. So we have to come in and manage that trust every single day. And I think that's incredibly important. And that influences a lot of our decisions around how we want to build that journey for the customer. Because I've got that traditional group of resolver customers. I don't want them to feel the need they're being pushed out or pushed away. I want them to feel there's a brand for them. And maybe it's their children, or maybe it's their grandchildren are coming along as these evolver customers, or these sort of younger, more Gen Z customers. We've got to continue to build that trust there as well. So I've realized, being a CEO, I'm a steward of trust.
Andrew, given you are a CEO that has a tech background, you're an engineer, you said it earlier. What would you say, looking at the recent developments in AI, Gen AI? We talked about that in the icebreaker questions. What's the business potential of it? Because if I look back in the last couple of years, there were many technology trends where I would say that was a solution which looked for a problem. Virtual worlds, one example. I haven't seen the breakthrough. Maybe it's coming, but it's not there yet. But with Gen AI, obviously it's different. So what's your business perspective? So what things are changing in a business? Cost down, revenue up by utilizing Gen AI.
I think what's really powerful about Gen AI is where it can help and assist someone who is already somewhat knowledgeable. I find if you just let it work on something cold, it has to go through its learning loop, and it doesn't necessarily get what it wants. And I think if you have to let it work on something incredibly complicated, it can struggle to really understand the complexity that it's trying to get through. So, if I look at it, I run a big call center operation. We still have a lot of people will call to place orders or find out where their product is at. Having AI tools that can help script for the call center agent are really powerful, or maybe even take some of the initial calls before they get into it, and it's actually assisting our agents. They're really experienced rather than replacing them. Similarly, when I look in areas of marketing, look at sort of traditional paper-based cataloging, which involved photo shoots and studio work, and there's just a lot of production that goes on in that world. Having AI tools that know the brand to some degree and know what a personalized catalog is going to look like, given the inputs we've given it on the customer, are going to be really key. So aligning that with an experienced catalog production expert is going to be important for their productivity, particularly as we personalize. And I think it's less about cutting. You can use it to anyone can cut expenses. You can use it to cut expenses, but it's more about leveraging that moment of personalization. And we have begun to use it on our website, on our PDP pages. We now use it to basically outfit you. So it's trying to read you as a customer based on the information that we have, and it's trying to create a carousel outfit for you, and like below the PDP page. And I think that's incredibly powerful, because then actually, if you think about it, it's just a version of being an AI assistant alongside the consumer. They could potentially ask Siri how to do this, and Siri might come up with a point of view, but we're doing it for them. So when it becomes a when it becomes your functional expert sidekick, I think it's way more important than when it just replaces something. And I think that's how I'm looking at it. I suspect it's how many others are looking at it, and we'll use that to leverage that tool. I don't foresee it taking over either at the bottom or the top anytime soon.
So it's
Not for
more
now, at least.
not for now. AGI.
Not for now. It's going to have to get a little stronger in order to get there. But as a partner, a sidekick, a strong number two, it's great. I mean, I find myself in my day, I'll ask it what it thinks about a particular issue. I mean, I'll ask it to give me a sense of a piece of product or a piece of marketing. And actually, it's better than me probably mithering my own team and letting them get on with their job, because it's able to give me some feedback and that I could lean into. So we are finding it to have a lot of applications, and they're all leverageable.
But because you talked a lot about how you use it, and you also mentioned more augmentation rather than automation, which is, I would say, great. I see that everywhere because it gives you like the personal DNA. How do you explain that to your employees, and how do you take them on this journey? Because obviously, yeah, they also see that now, I don't know, things like Canva, they all go on autopilot and generate content in masses. And I mean, that's a threat to their job. And as opposed to that, you could also train them, say, hey, you're more productive if you use Gen AI. So how do you see that?
I think it depends. In some places, it's about scripting. So, in a call center, it's going to be more about scripting and giving suggestions. But in marketing, for production of specific catalogs or specific content, it's really about a back and forth conversation that allows you to personalize. So again, I'm trying to go from I started with two customer journeys, my Resolver, my Evolver. I've added a third customer journey now, as I've got my fashion seeker. But ultimately, as I move that I can keep expanding that conceptually and end up with a customer journey for everyone. Then I think that's where AI can actually help you accelerate that, because you could simply just never add enough people in order to get to a point where you can have an individual customer journey. I think that's where the tools are more powerful. And so my team, because we are a technology company, fundamentally, I understand the catalog heritage and I understand the nature of how some people look at the company, but fundamentally we're a technology company. So many of the people are technologists in the company. They understand that the application of tools and the application of better tools is about growth.
Okay. And you're training them, you're giving them access to GPTs, ChatGPT, to enable them to run faster.
Yeah, we've given everyone, we actually, in our world, we gave everyone access to Copilot. So they're able to see through it. So everyone now has Copilot 365. And actually, it's really interesting to see. I mean, I think search is going to become interesting. I think that's going to be a future area for everyone. We've experimented by putting a layer on top of AI with a lot of our data in it to see it, but it's hard to set the edges on that quite yet. And AI will disappear off down a rabbit hole and start selling your customer something from your competitor. It's you sort of like need to draw it back to, this is what we're trying to do, and this is what we're trying to create as a purpose. And I don't think AI fully understands purpose yet. I think until it gets to that point, maybe it's not even AI. That's my engineer coming out at me, which is it's machine learn. It's still in many ways machine learning versus AI.
It's a good point, I think, because most AI models have been trained by engineers and not by business people. And there could be, an inheritive, paradox that AI is trying to really serve the person asking the question and not necessarily the business who's paying for the technology. So
That's absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's going to be as good as the information. It's going to be as good as the algorithms allow it to be. And if the algorithms came from one perspective, you know, you're not necessarily going to get there. I suspect there's someone out there though who maybe the three of us haven't met, who's already well down that path. I mean, I'm certainly leaning in because I do see the potential here.
well, Andrew, we're coming to the end of our time. Time flies by very fast when you have fun, and we always have a closing question at the end of our conversations, which is, you know, you are obviously the CEO of Land's End, but what if you were to meet a fellow CEO at another brand, and he wanted to get just one piece of advice from you? What would that be?
Put the customer first. Absolutely, every time. If you have a great process and you run your company on being a great process, then you've just got a great process. And it's like engage your customer and put them first. I can't say it enough.
Cool. Thank
Very
you,
cool.
Andrew. I think that was a powerful end of the show, and I couldn't agree more.
Thank you. I'm excited, and I'm grateful for you giving me the time and the platform.
Let's go on Land's End and buy a cozy flannel for the evening now.
Absolutely. You let me know what you got.
Will do. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Yael. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Take care.